Hey guys, welcome to this new video on my channel. My name is Nico, aka trueniko, and today we're gonna talk about how to master product photography at home to take your pictures from this to this. So let's roll the intro and then let's get started. So first, for product photos you need to set a mood. So since we're photographing the whiskey today, we need to think about what are typical characters of whiskey, maybe how is it produced, and also maybe think about some stereotypes about or around a certain product. So for whiskey, I'm gonna think about a distillery, I think about some wood, I think about some hard workers coming home drinking their whiskey. Maybe I see a little bit of, I don't know, wooden barrels. So think about typical like stereotypes, typical characters of your product you want to photograph. Another example for instance would be a sunscreen. Sunscreen is more about some, you have the sun, you have maybe a beach. So think about stereotypes. Maybe you have a bathing suit on, maybe you have some sunglasses on. So this helps around to set a certain mood. And this also is very important when you set up your whole scene. So with the whiskey, I went for a scene with a lot of wood in it. And I went to the backyard, I found this whole piece of wood and also some pieces next to the fireplace I could use to set up the whole scene. But you don't have to have these items available. I mean, you can just really look into your wardrobe, and with the sunscreen you could maybe use a beach towel as a background and maybe some bathing suit and stuff like this. So it's really think about what you have available. You can also look around in your house. Maybe you have some nice textures on the floors, or I don't know, maybe you have a nice blanket that fits the scene. And if you have no ideas maybe what fits this subject perfect, you can actually go to the website from the company and also look how what are the colors they use and maybe what backgrounds do they use. And you can actually also go on Pinterest, because there are a lot of boards created for certain types of products. When you have all those things together, we can now move on to the second point. Now when you have your scene set up, it's important to light the scene properly. So for my scene I went with a very basic lighting with a softbox. I got it very cheap from Amazon, and also a second light to light the scene a little bit more. Especially with some beverages with a see-through bottle. You see here the liquid is very like yellow golden like, and when you have a light you can actually make the liquid glow a little bit better. So this helps to set up the mood. You can also use natural light. So I would set up the scene next to a window to get the better light, or some photographers actually choose a strobe light or like a flashlight on their camera to light the scene. But I think it's just important to play around with the light and see what works best for you. Now the third point is to use some props for your product. Some products look very good when they're by themselves, so maybe a scenario where the bottle is very fancy and you want to highlight one detail of a bottle, it can be good to just photograph the bottle with the background, or you have a background which is very contrasty to the product. This can also work perfectly, but there are certain types of shots you want to add a little bit to the mood. So with my shots I use this hat in the top of the picture to add a little bit of to the mood, and I also had this rope lying around, and this made this shot even better. You can think about what props you can use. Just walk around your house and also go back to step number one, thinking about the scene and the mood. So for example with the whiskey we have this industrial feel, so I actually could use some tools and place them next to the bottle. Or with the sunscreen, that's the two examples I use. With the sunscreen maybe you can use sunglasses, you can use maybe a bath suit, and maybe, I don't know, think about the whole scene and add those things there to set up the scene even better. Sometimes it doesn't look very pleasant when you place it, but always look with your camera and imagine how the final shot will look like, because there's a big difference what you see and what your camera sees. So always keep this in mind, and also retry it, reposition everything, because not the first position might not be the best for your picture. And then the last step, and also my favorite step, is to add a little bit of texture to your shots, because sometimes shots can look very flat when you photograph them, so it's very cool if you add textures. So what textures can you use? So with the whiskey I went with the wood, and I used some little chips of the wood and placed it on the board to add a little bit of this punch, and also to add more dynamic to the picture. You can use sand for other shots, you can use coffee, grounded up coffee, you can use water, so sometimes, especially when you have, for example, like a can of a beverage and you serve it usually cold, you can like spray some water on it and you have those little water bits there, and this helps to add to the picture. So usually just look around what can fit to the subject. And I think the first step can be also very crucial for setting up the whole scene, because you already have some things in mind. You can also like look and go to the ingredients and see, okay, what are ingredients? So maybe there's an orange, you can maybe place an orange as a prop, and maybe, I don't know, peel an orange, so use different things and just get creative, because that's what product photography is all about.
Let's recap the video. So first, before you actually start shooting, it's important to set a mood and theme for your photos. So think about the typical characteristics of your photo and also the typical customer. When you have your scene, it's important to light it properly. You can use a basic soft light from Amazon, or just use natural light from your window. Then it's important to add a little bit of props. Sometimes it looks great without any props, but usually props add a little bit more dynamic to the picture and let the customer know what the photo and product is all about. And then last, when your picture looks a little bit flat, you can always add a texture. So you can use sand, coffee beans, water, or just think what you can use. So maybe look into the ingredients and just toss the things on the board there to add a little bit of dynamic to the picture.
Yes, so here are some final images from the shoot. I hope you enjoyed them. If you do, you can comment it down below, and maybe you can say if you have experience with product photography. And that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I see you next week. Bye bye!